Hello and welcome to Film Teach, self-education through films. If you are interested to know how films can be used to improve our understanding of everyday concepts and phenomena in a useful way, this audio series is for you. My name is Disha, and I study one film at a time to distill from it practical and useful insights. Today's audio essay, the fourth one on the channel, is inspired by the film Interstellar. When I watched this film for the first time, its director's love for complex plots preceded my viewing experience. I felt intellectually cornered by the storyline, the tesseract, the time slippage, and quickly put it in my "it's one of those films" box. I guess I meant films that I won't ever understand. However, as time pressed on, I realized that instead of focusing on what I don't understand, if I concentrated on what I could understand, there was a lot I could still learn from the film. This was when I came to realize that apart from the enormity of outer space, the film also sheds light on the enormity of inner space. For instance, I realized that the film can help us understand how we, humans, respond. What motivates our reactions, and what do we consider when we act one way or another? Interstellar is full of crises and explores its characters' various responses to them. You see, there's a crisis on Earth, as it dangles by a thread in front of Mother Nature. Crisis plays out in the outer space when theory is pitted against reality, and then there's a crisis in relationships when desire and love collide. But the story isn't just different kinds of crises served on a spinning top. It is equally about how its chief characters, Cooper, Murph, Professor Brand, Dr. Amelia, and Dr. Mann, respond to the crisis they encounter. I also felt that perhaps their destinies were determined in some way, not by the crisis alone, but by how they responded to those crises. So the question I decided to pursue was this: can the film Interstellar help us know the different ways in which we choose our responses? What I found showed me how our responses are influenced by both internal and external factors, and in observing how we respond to different situations, crisis or no crisis, we can gain a better understanding of ideas that hold sway over us and those that we stand by. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. Our responses are based on what we know and what we have. The film begins with life on the edge. Crop blights and dust storms have put a big question mark on humanity's survival and its relationship with Earth. The seemingly sudden mood change of Mother Earth took most people by surprise as they sought to navigate their way through the crisis. The common man's response was flight, and based on what he knew, fleeing seemed to be the only way to earn an extra day for himself and his family. Then there's NASA, a team of scientists, explorers, specialists who responded to the crisis with the will to fight it. However, burdened by the knowledge that was kept away from the common man, their flight was a wail, for they too intended to flee. Where the common man could run away to a new city with the hope of finding new life, the scientists planned to flee to a new planet altogether, with the same hope in mind. This observation helped me understand that some of our most critical and fundamental decisions or responses are based on what we know and the resources we have to act upon our knowledge. Our responses are based on what we desire or what we think we desire. Cooper is a doting father who cares deeply about his children, especially his 10-year-old daughter, Murph. But despite his deep and sincere love, he chooses to leave his children in the care of his elderly father-in-law so that he can do what he was born to do. Although his heart breaks to do so, he is unable to hold himself back when an opportunity knocks on his door, offering him a second chance to do what he's good at. Yet, when he finds himself looking at his daughter's bedroom from inside the tesseract, he shows us that what he really desired was to stay with his family and be a father to his children. This observation helped me understand that sometimes our responses are based on what we think we want and not necessarily on what we really want. And if we don't think through situations that divide us against ourselves, we might lose more than we ever bargained for. However, sometimes that erroneous judgment may be the only way for us to know what we truly want. Our responses may be based on the knowledge that we haven't tested or challenged well enough. Dr. Amelia Brandt was a scientist, and her knowledge deeply influenced her worldview. I've explored this very idea in an earlier essay titled How Knowledge Influences Perception, and I have linked it in the description box for anyone who might be interested in it. In Dr. Amelia's case, science had taught her to trust only theories and quite likely not her intuition. When they land on Miller's planet and discover her broken craft, Amelia insists on finding Miller's data, even though it becomes clear that there's nothing for them here, as she later tells an aged Romilly. Her theories had prepared her for success, discovery, and even sacrifice. She's ready to give up her life on Miller's planet. But they could not prepare her for the reality of the unexpected. In short, the theories that felt perfect inside the lab crumbled at the slightest brush with the unknown. The catastrophe at Miller's planet taught her that experience is the real knowledge, that theories can only take one so far, and that our best defense against the unexpected is our ability to hold our own instead of being held by inflexible ideas. This observation helped me understand that when we allow our knowledge to make us rigid in our response, then we stand to seriously jeopardize our well-being and the well-being of others. Our responses can stem from what we consider a priority or the right thing to do. Dr. Amelia put her life at risk and in fact did compromise another astronaut's life just because she believed that the mission statement required her to recover the data above all else. Her knowledge had led her to believe that that was the right thing to do. However, her knowledge did not prepare her in any way to tackle the unexpected, if or when the thing she considered right was challenged strongly and suddenly. Her response made me understand that sometimes we may act out of our understanding of what we have come to believe in as right or as top priority. However, we may not always be right. And perhaps then our redemption would only come from accepting that we were in fact wrong and our priorities incorrect. Our responses can come from a place of love. Combined with available data and her love for Wolf Edmund, Amelia saw Edmund's planet as their next best option after Miller's. Since that turned out to be the right planet, I think it's fair to say that love had sharpened her intuition. However, Amelia's decisions on Miller's planet had put a dent in her stature as a scientist and kept Cooper from trusting her intuition. But for Amelia, theories became limiting as love became the guiding beacon in the dark enormity of space. Love also showed her the true purpose of her journey. Amelia's response helped me understand that when we respond from a place of true love, or as Dr. Amelia puts it, a place that transcends time, space, even death, then our response is guided by something timeless, eternal, and bigger than our ability to explain or comprehend it. And as far as Interstellar goes, such a response yields good results. Our responses can come from a place of resentment. When she was 10, Murph was unable to forgive her father for leaving her. When she turned 33, she started to resent her father because she felt he left her to die. Her resentment came from a place of deep despair and a betrayal she felt she experienced at the hands of her father, whom she loved deeply and who she knew loved her as much, which made it all the more difficult for her to understand his decision. Of course, as the film progresses, Murph learns the truth, but until that point, she is torn apart by her father's abandonment and his reasons for doing so. And until she found out the truth and reconciled with it, she chose to respond with resentment towards her father. Murph's response made me think that when we come from a place of resentment and don't have the information necessary to understand it, we can become bitter, heavy with baggage, and make ourselves emotionally fragile. Our responses can be based on fear or cowardice. Dr. Mann is shown as a leader, a man Who could rally the masses? Who's worthy of emulation? Dr. Mann, the scientist, fits this description perfectly. But what about Dr. Mann, the man? Is he worthy of emulation too? Not at all. Just like Jurassic Park's John Hammond, Dr. Mann had convinced himself of his success a bit too early and a bit too much. If you'd like, you can find out more about that in my audio essay titled, What Can John Hammond Teach Us About What Humility Is Not? Anyway, Dr. Mann was so convinced of being right that he did not even conceive failure, and in doing so, failed to prepare himself for any untoward consequences. And in being unprepared, and upon realizing his folly, he fell back on primal emotions of fear and cowardice. And when he responded from these places, he chose violence, thoughtlessness, and ended up putting the lives of many in mortal danger, especially his own. From Dr. Mann's response, I learned that when we act out of an irrational fear or cowardice, we can develop a tunnel vision, become tyrannical, our own worst enemy, and increase our chances of harming ourselves and others. Our responses can be based on blind arrogance. Dr. Mann had deluded many, including himself, about his invincibility. All the 12 probes were sent out into the universe to look for signs of life. Dr. Mann believed the planet that he was sent to was the one. This made me wonder that if he was so sure, why did he let 11 others risk their lives and exploit resources during a catastrophic time? Anyway, much like his mentor Dr. Brand, who according to Cooper had wrongly declared the case of people on Earth as hopeless, Dr. Mann too had found the nerve to believe in his success in a world he knew nothing about. Dr. Mann's response helped me understand that when we respond from a place of blind arrogance, a place where there's no room for humility, then we are bound to either grovel in regret, like Dr. Brand, or be consumed by our own irrationalities, like Dr. Mann. Our responses can be motivated by moments when we believe we have nothing to lose. At Miller's planet, Cooper lost 23 years of his life, then more at Dr. Mann's. He realized that everything that linked him to Earth and gave his time meaning had ceased to be. After that, he no longer worried about losing or gaining time for himself, but he knew he had a task at hand and a desire to see it done. So he decided to voluntarily sacrifice himself to his fate and for the fate of the people of Earth by heading into the literal heart of darkness. Such decisions can either make us go rogue, like Dr. Mann, or help us use our newfound detachment to attempt the right thing, like Cooper. Dr. Mann's response made a bad situation worse, while Cooper's response transformed a precarious situation into a safety net for himself and many others, and is probably the reason why he was redeemed in the end. By observing Cooper's response to not give in to despair, but to do the next right thing, helped me understand the courage we stand to harness from complete detachment and total surrender, and how such moments may even define our purpose and its fulfillment. Our responses can be determined by new realizations. That he no longer needed to rush to get back to Earth was a new realization for Cooper, and allowed him to see his responsibility in a new light, and also with greater courage when he decides to dip into the darkness. I also saw this transformation in action in Murph's choices, as she finally realizes that her father never abandoned her. In fact, he was the one attempting to help her all along. Cooper's and Murph's responses helped me understand that new realizations, new understandings, and new knowledge or information can reshape our responses and alter the course of our choices. The overarching question helped me understand the power of response, especially if we can become conscious of the ideas and thoughts that prompt our responses. I also valued learning how closely our destiny is linked to our responses to different life events. Now, I'd like to conclude by sharing the list of different ways in which we can choose our responses as depicted in Interstellar. 1. Our responses are based on what we know and what we have. 2. Our responses can come from what we think we want and not what we really want. 3. Our responses may be based on the knowledge that we haven't challenged well enough. 4. Our responses can stem from what we consider a priority or the right thing to do. 5. Our responses can come from a place of love. 6. Our responses can come from a place of resentment. 7. Our responses can be based on fear or cowardice. 8. Our responses can be based on arrogance. 9. Our responses can be motivated by moments when we believe we have nothing to lose. 10. Our responses can be determined by new realizations. So this is what I found out. What about you? Add your insights in the comments section, and if you found it useful, do share it with your friends. And maybe let me know too. Thanks for being here. See you next time.